President of WIFO says, since Hurricane Irma, people are still waiting on relief to rebuild their homes. Member of Parliament for USP has requested an urgent meeting of Parliament with the NRBP. But first up, head of the Met Office on St. Martin says, we must be cognizant as we enter the 2020 Atlantic hurricane season. Those are the headlines for Monday, June the 1st, 2020. This is SXM Daily News. I'm Valerie Van Putten. Thank you so much for joining me. And as usual, we have a packed newscast for you this evening, so let's get started. As today is the start of the 2020 Atlantic hurricane season, head of the Met Office on St. Martin, Mr. Joseph Isaac, says that we have to be cognizant. The 2020 Atlantic hurricane season, which will end on Monday, November the 30th, officially started today, and according to the forecast, there's a 60% chance of an above normal season, a 30% chance of an average season, and just a measly 10% chance of a below normal season. Forecasters at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, last month predicted that as many as 19 named storms would form, of which as many as 10 will be hurricanes. Seemingly, the combination of several climate factors is driving the strong likelihood of an above normal activity in the Atlantic this year. Speaking on the program, The Breakfast Lounge with Lady Grace, Monday morning, the head of the St. Martin Meteorological Department, Joseph Isaacs, gave an elucidation.
There are significance in terms of the hurricane forecast, but we have to be cognizant and understand that you could have a very active season like 2005, and St. Martin wasn't impacted by any significant storm. And you had a season like 1995, Lewis, which was not a very active season. So going on those statistics and those references, at the end of the exercise, is it very relevant whether it's going to be an active season or not? We say 6 months of the year, there's higher probability of having storm hurricane conditions, and it's a matter of being prepared because it only takes one. So an active season, you may not get anything. A season that's not active, you may get a major hurricane, and the chapter is different altogether in the book. So the message always is that we're going into the season, we have gone through it already, we know what it is like. 2017 was not too long ago, so persons would know what happened during Irma and so on. It is a preparation period that we have to go through. But it is always good to look at the forecast from the experts and see what they're saying. And this year, when we look at the forecast from NOAA and also the forecast from Colorado State University, which are the two predominant, most reliable over the years, and these are the two we really look at in terms of what they're saying. There are a number of other entities that do hurricane forecasts, season forecasts also. But when we look at these two, we see that they basically are in sync. And in sync in terms of going for an above average season. And when we talk about an above average season, for example, in an average season, we would be looking at about 12 named storms. But this year, for example, NOAA is going to be for between 13 to 19 named storms. That is significant. The Colorado State University forecast is about the same. And there are even other entities that we don't look at too much, but are also in sync. Almost all the forecast models for the season are for above average season. And the reasons for that being that we look like we're going into an El Nino phase, a La Nina phase. El Nino is usually better for us, and we're going towards a La Nina, and as a result of that, that's one of the reasons, because when we're dealing with El Nino, the phenomena of El Nino, which is high upper level winds, which suppress hurricanes, would not be present. So that is one of the things that would give the systems the sort of fuel they need to develop. We have very high above average sea surface temperatures. And when we're talking about sea surface temperatures, you do not really relate it to the heat we're feeling now on land. It's actually the warmth of the sea and out in the Atlantic to a certain depth that gives the storm the type of energies, latent heat it needs from the sea.
Right.
So, and then we have what we call the weak tropical trade winds. Again, if you have systems moving very quick and you have strong trade winds, it gives them less time to absorb the water from the oceans and so on, develop. If you have weak winds, then they can take more time. And that again compounds with what we call wind shear in the upper levels.
On Friday, May the 29th, 2020, Member of Parliament Claudius Moncamper sent an email to the President of Parliament, MP Rolando Bryson, requesting an urgent meeting regarding the still pending NRPB programs and projects. The email suggests that it is imperative that the Prime Minister is invited to the meeting, accompanied by the NRPB Directorate and any other support staff desired by the Prime Minister. The Member of Parliament expounded on his motive.
The meeting was requested, first of all, by 6 MPs. The United Democrats, represented by MP Westcott Williams, the PFP, represented by MPs Melissa Gums and Rayon Peterson, one member of the NA faction, MP Christophe Emmanuel, and the 2 members of the USP party, which is MP Akim Arundel and myself. Why did we ask for this meeting? Well, I think the focus audit done by the General Audit Chamber of St. Martin speaks volumes. It clearly shows the amount of money that has been approved but has not been put to work. 5.38% of all the monies that were allocated towards Country St. Martin in the trust fund after Hurricane Irma have been distributed. Some $32 million has been distributed so far, dispersed in payments, etc., etc. 14.1 million, I believe, was also dispersed towards the World Bank. The World Bank also is paid for their services. So we got 32 million thus far in St. Martin. World Bank got 14 million thus far in St. Martin, doing works for St. Martin. I said in the past, in some of my live streams already, that St. Martin is not in the same boat as Aruba and Curacao when it comes to the restart of our economics. And one of the reasons was the amount of money sitting in the trust fund that we can put back into the economy by starting up the construction world. Remember, repairs of roofs, repairs of schools, repairs and building of new shelters. All of these things have been talked about, tendered and all kind of thing, but not built. Every time there's a different story on why it's not happening. Then you hear that we don't have capable contractors, qualified and skilled workers to do the work. And I'm saying you cannot keep telling me that story year in, year out, and nothing happens. This is the 3rd hurricane season we are going through right now since Irma, where the Dutch have made monies available. We were promised shelters and all kind of roof repairs, and nothing has happened. I'm not even going to address the landfill in full order. I will leave that for the public meeting because I think that's a complete shame. We got money to clean up this island after Hurricane Lewis. The only monies that were used were the 22 million guilders that the Vromi ministry did in a cleanup from September 2017 to April 2018. That cleanup was 22 million. If the Dutch paid for it, I'm not sure. I was not in a position to understand if they did or not. But that's the only money I can say that was directly related to cleanups. There were a few other entities that was given money through the Dutch directly, and they did some works. You had some home repairs that were done directly through the White and Yellow Cross, directly through the Red Cross, who picked up money and got money from Holland. And you had the group, the St. Martin Development Fund, the Keith Franca those days, that did the home repair for the seniors. Those things did not come from the trust fund. So nobody should say, oh, the trust fund did it. No, they never did that. All the houses to be built by the trust fund have not really been built. So again, I need to to understand why these hundreds of millions of dollars are sitting on bank accounts and not being pumped into the economy of Samaritan. Then we also have another group of monies which are directly related to incoming projects. If we have to become resilient, if we have to build back this country, now one of the most important things is to digitalize your organization and to reform your taxes. Both of these projects are lying to be implemented, but it's not happening. We are talking about reforming and resiliency, but we're not doing nothing. The money is in the trust fund to help us do it, but we're not executing it. And every time it's a different story. All I want is that the Prime Minister comes to the meeting, respects the people of Samaritan, and tells us the truth once and for all. No more Nancy stories, just the truth, just the hard facts. And if they're ugly, then tell us the ugly facts. But tell us what's really happening to the people of Samaritan with this whole story of the trust fund.
And in more news, Prime Minister of St. Martin, the Honorable Sylvia Jacobs, in her national address on Saturday, May the 30th, 2020, elucidated to the reopening of businesses on Sunday. In the changes of Phase 3, the Prime Minister said that the curfew hours will now be adjusted.
In the changes to the Phase 3, the Ministerial Regulation of May 29, 2020/0324 was enacted. The EOC advised, and the Council of Ministers actually put forth, that Sundays would be open days as of now on. So starting this Sunday, May 31st, the curfew hours will be adjusted from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. So the new curfew hours actually as of today, May 30th, in Phase 3 is 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. Additionally, businesses will be able to be open on Sundays as well. And that regulation, which was signed, implementing the changes, begins today, May 30th. I know many woke up this morning wondering, but we made sure that it had to be published first, which it was published today, and therefore everyone is aware that today and tomorrow are open days as well. There was much debate about whether tomorrow would be open or not. And so I would like to tell the people of St. Martin, it won't be feasible to be open if you stay at home. It is still your prerogative to do your shopping and other essential services from Monday to Saturday, even though some places will be opening as they did prior to our lockdown on a Sunday. I believe we've learned a lot of lessons through this COVID-19 reality, and the value of family and spending as much time as possible together should remain our focus even as we move forward in reopening our businesses.
And still to come, President of WIFO says that since Hurricane Irma, people are still waiting on relief to rebuild their homes. We'll have the details to that story and much more when SXM Daily News returns.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Martin, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Our friend Megawati is here with tips to save you energy. 1. Turn your airco temperature up. 2. Use a ceiling fan instead. 3. Buy energy-saving products. Save some green with NVGEBE.
And as we continue now with more news at this time, President of WIFO, Theophilus Thompson, on Thursday last, May the 28th, 2020, says that since Hurricane Irma, many people are still waiting on relief to rebuild their homes. So dealing with the government in The Hague, our government should take a different position.
Since Hurricane Irma, many persons are still waiting for relief to rebuild their homes, and so on. So dealing with the government in The Hague, our government should take a different position. No conditions, no cut that would bring poverty to our people, because that also is an international treaty which Holland signed up that they will do everything to prevent or eliminate poverty. So you can't sink people into poverty by cutting their, based on the system, their purchasing power. So the battle has just begun. You know, we would like to support our local government to the full extent, but they have to understand that you can't repeat your mistakes so many times over and over. You must talk to the workers' representatives. You must talk to the masses representatives, which are the trade unions, the anti-poverty movement, our association. We represent the masses. And you must talk to us. You talk to everybody else. You're talking to all of the capitalists within the system, except to the workers. And we have knowledge and good information about human rights and workers' rights, which the Dutch government signed off to. And unless you know those information, when you go and speak to them, they will look at you as lack of knowledge and impose on you things which they know it is contrary to what they have signed off to. But we must know, we must confront them. Had the union been involved in those early discussions, we would have give our leaders that information so they can know how to stand and talk. You know, from Wyford perspective, we had the same problems before 10-10-10, when they were going into discussion about the separate status. They were not negotiating based on equal rights within the system. They were negotiating on individual rights, which they lack knowledge. The same thing is happening right now. And we can't stand by and see the same thing reoccur. So we would like, and we hope that they're listening, and they would take and have us involved in all of their future discussion, not only here locally, but even if they have to go abroad.
The Wyford president also brought to light that within the hotel sector on the island, 3 local hotels have laid off workers. Mr. Thompson said in the meantime, they have applied for the government assistance. Workers' rights and human rights employees should be entitled to their full salary.
How many of those businesses have decided to shut down because of the COVID-19?
Well, let's say within the hotel sector, there's only 3 that I know of that actually has sent home the employees, and in the meantime, they have applied to the government subsidy plan. And as a matter of fact, we have informed them verbally, we'll do it in writing in a while, that they should pay. They have to pay 100% to the employees. Because, again, based on workers' rights, the same thing we're referring to, workers' rights, human rights, the employees should be entitled to their full salary. If they don't, like I said, based on our jurisprudence, we will challenge the decision that they have taken based on, I would say, misleading information from government.
Now, you know I'm going to have to ask, who are the 3 companies?
Well, Bel Air, Holland House, Oyster Bay, because their time, well, Holland House is a hotel. Hotel is different to a timeshare. Hotel, you check in and you pay, unless there's some kind of arrangement with a company that will send their person there and they will pay afterwards. But places like Holland House, places like Bel Air, and Oishebe, they are timeshare. And like I explained earlier, timeshare income is different to a regular hotel. Timeshare, the owners, they pay in advance.
Now turning to our weather forecast for June the 1st, 2020. The relatively loose pressure gradient will maintain mostly light winds across the region. Meanwhile, available low-level moisture may cause a few local showers during the forecast period. Slight to moderate seas are expected through the next few days. The outlook through Wednesday midday, fair to partly cloudy with a few brief passing showers which are possible. Now let's turn to your 3-day forecast. And still to come, Minister of VSR says he is committed to protect the health and safety of the people of St. Martin. We'll have the details of that story and more when SXM Daily News returns.
Make use of WIB mobile banking with easy access and direct usage of face recognition, PIN code, or fingerprint. Download WIB mobile banking app and make your transaction from anywhere at any time. For more information, visit wib-bank.net/quick-login.
And as we continue now with more news, Minister of VSR, Richard Panafleck, at the weekly Council of Ministers press briefing last Wednesday, May the 27th, 2020, gave the government guidelines for businesses following the reopening of the island. The minister said that he is committed to protect the health and safety of the people of St. Martin.
The spread of the COVID-19 disease has impacted almost all businesses. The Ministry of ASR is committed to protect the health and safety of the people of St. Martin in these unprecedented times. The purpose of these guidelines is to encourage business owners to be self-regulatory and adhere to the guidelines in order to mitigate the spread of this disease and to ensure that people can be in a safe environment. It is also prudent for the business community to focus on preventing a new lockdown, which would add to the already financial disastrous effect of the previous one. We have now established some guidelines for the supermarkets, mini markets, outlets, along with businesses that are operating. I can hereby briefly elaborate and state a few of the topics that are being addressed in these guidelines. Staffing, spacing, social distancing, personal hygiene, sanitation. These guidelines will be posted in detail to the government website and to government's Facebook page. The businesses community are therefore encouraged to use these guidelines as an example for setting regulations that are best suited for their company or business. In other words, these guidelines set the standard and can be adapted to fit your specific needs. Please note that in case necessary, the Ministry of VSR can be and will be assisting in setting such guidelines if necessary.
And still to come, First Vice President of the Collectivité says the Executive Council has approved 186,000 euros to finance the friendly students. You'll have the details of that story when SXM Daily News returns. as we end this edition of SXM News for this evening, this item out of French Saint Martin. First Vice President of the Collectivité, Valerie Damaso, in her presentation on Monday last, May the 25th, 2020, said that the Executive Council deliberated and granted 186,000 euros to finance the Operation Friendly Students. The money will be going to assist in the COVID-19 prevention, she elaborated.
Last Friday, the Executive Council deliberated on the and granted 186,000 euros to finance the Operation Friendly Students. This exceptional grant of 500 euros per student was put in place to help them face this pandemic. Since the beginning of the crisis, the collectivité has spent 332,325 euros on COVID-19 prevention. This sum allowed the purchasing of an intensive care ventilator, an anesthesia ventilator for our hospital, screening machines, serological test kits, disposable masks, reusable fabric masks for schools and the general public, and sanitary products. On the economical level, as you know, the collectivité has released an exceptional fund of 5 million euros for businesses in difficulty. This fund, which complements the Solidarity Fund of the state, in which the collectivité participates financially, is distributed in the form of a zero interest rate loan through the Association pour le droit et l'initiative économique and the Initiative Saint-Martin Active platform. When a collectivité of 37,000 inhabitants make an effort of 5 million euros from an already stretched budget to help the businesses, this demonstrates a strong willingness to support the economic sector. This is not the case everywhere else. From this 5 million euros, 2.5 million euros will be released this week by the means of loans of up to 15,000 euros per business. Another part of the fund will be dedicated to investment aid for shops and restaurants, thanks to the extension of the projet Mon Beau Commerce. We have also worked on economic recovery and the development of public procurement to support our economy. Investments under the multi-annual investment plan represents 22 million euros to be committed by the end of 2020, are defined as follows: 5.2 million euros for schools, 4.2 million euros for public infrastructures such as public lighting or the renovation of the Fort Louis Marina, 3.7 million euros for the sports infrastructures such as the reconstruction of the Telbert Cartier Stadium and the creation of a nautical project, 2.5 million euros for road repairs and road signage, 1.7 million for public space. The report of these credits, along with the expenditures linked to the response to the health crisis, have brought about the first modification on the primitive 2020 budget. Our budget is now 60 million euros in the investment section, 157 million euros in the operation section. This deliberation was voted unanimously. As a second point, the Territorial Council voted unanimously on the date of payment of corporate tax. Following the deliberation adopted during the Territorial Council on April 14th, having postponed to June 15, 2020, the date of filing of the corporate tax, the Council decided to postpone the date of payment of the corporate tax to June 30th, 2020, thus giving businesses the time necessary to complete their procedures.
And with that, this concludes this evening's edition of SXM Daily News. I am Valerie Van Putten. Just a reminder that this and other programs are available online. Simply log on to stmartinmediacenter.com for viewing. And on behalf of SXM Daily News team, we thank you for watching and plan on meeting you right back here again tomorrow.